What's better, incentivizing the production or monetizing the process? Any rational man would come to the conclusion that incentivizing the production is far superior. The psychologist B.F. Skinner developed the theory of operant conditioning, which describes exactly this. He concluded that adding a reward or removing a punishment reinforces positive behavior. The issue with monetizing the process is that it is adding a punishment to promote positive action. For sake of argument, let's say a man must give 5% of every 100 ears of corn he produces, but must pay an additional 25% in fees to produce them. Suddenly, the means of his labor has produced him considerably less than the work he put in. On top of that, he must jump through additional hoops, creating more steps in the process, instilling more room for error, and then having to find a way to recover the deficits through marketing, exploitation of his own, or sacrifice freedom to produce more quantity. There are programs and incentives that offset it, sure, but the ultimate goal shouldn't be to play tug of war in a minefield, just to operate where the field is slanted in favor of those that can afford the time and resources. I was exhausted just summarizing that process. Fulfilling and maintaining it in reality must be a nightmare, and clearly inefficient for a nation. The reason for monetizing the process, as argued, is to generate as much revenue from the people as possible. I'll argue there's a second reason, though. Heavy regulation by a government or monarch isn't a new phenomenon, with our generation at least, but due to our growth and expansion in a relatively short period of time, we've had industries explode and sectors expand with no relative oversight in the lead up and expansion. It wasn't until after that we started seeing all this regulation. But the regulation appears to affect the citizens more than the actual corporations. I would make the assertion then that there may be a point, supported by history, that heavy regulation of individual freedoms and opportunities is a result of desire to maintain control of the market by the entities or powers that control them already, to restrict competition and ensure balance to the current order. The government then has to make a distinction between what is the purpose of their economy. Is it to create and ensure wealth for all, or opportunity and profit for the desperate and greedy? Perhaps in our case, it's to maintain the illusion of prosperity, to hide the reality of inadequacy and inefficiency. The less you restrict an individual's ability to create and produce, they will naturally do that on their own. Our very nature is to create life. Man was made in God's image, who was the creator. It is naturally our predisposition to create. A nation would then be better suited to promote that natural instinct and right to create for its benefit, while removing as many barriers as possible in terms of resource accessibility, personal capability, and individual benefit and service to the whole. The priority of government should not be the regulation of its citizens, but its influencing forces such as the economy, the media, and the corporations. This naturally leads to more production, a happier workforce, and increased foundations for stability, while reducing risk of biased influence and manipulation through greed and corruption.